Grim bloke. Yeah. And then.
Welcome back, ballers.
Let me tell you about this one time. I went through a porthole and snuck into the North Pole and got picked up in a Hyperborean DeLorean. They said they knew I was a Webster Merriam historian, master the numerical Gregorian, the hysterical mystic, no more than a Pythagorean, conspiracy theory Ethereum in the etheric fear realm. I thought they were gonna take me to the crematorium in their Hyperborean DeLorean. Tested me on my Sumerian, Shakespearean, knew I was a numerical vegetarian, Aquarian, that I knew about the Tartarians, barbarians, Mars radium, aliens. Salt of the earth, solution Selenian. Spent the night in the Hyperborean chamber. I looked around and thought, bruv, who hired the painter? Hyperborean memoriam, auditorium, all cause I got picked up in the Hyperborean DeLorean. Introducing all love. Jack Ruff. Yeah. Invisible diamond minerals, crystalline and swimming pools, interdimensional realms of scrapping Catherine, and Bahamas, Azores, Atlantis shores, mountains, temples, marble floors, seafloors, treasure and cities lost. Yeah, bruv, in it. Oh, sphinxes, pyramids and minotaurs, fruit grown in grove luxuriant. In it. Inhabitants intelligent, closest seen to perfection. The whole experience, heaven to them, polar aurora, horizon beyond them. Flats and sky, lake of fire, core and flora, but bright comets, tornadoes, turbulence, not prohibition, more. Not forbidden, thought expansive, places massive. In it, yeah, bruv, in it, oh. Just hanging around.
Let's see some thumbs up in the chat. I just want to make sure you guys can hear me okay.
Telling stories in the Hyperborean DeLorean. Grim bloke. Jack Bruff. In it. Just hanging out around.
Thank you, Enthuse.
Jack Bruff. 8888892. If you didn't know, now you're forever exploring it interdimensional.
Best night of the week, baby. Welcome back, ballers, to another episode of Eye to Eye with AJ, Rambo, and Cody. Best night of the week, like I always say. This one's going to be a doozy, you guys. Lots to catch up on. I know Cody's been doing some amazing work with a lot of his findings with regards to the frequency connections with what went down on September 4th, opening night of the NFL season. I had my own take on it with Hawk Tua, but believe it or not, that actually came together in its own way as well. And we'll touch on that later, but without further ado, Cody, Rambo, can you guys hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Awesome. Cody?
Yep, can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. And shout out to everybody in the chat. Appreciate you guys. Without further ado, let's knock out some introductions. Rambo, if you wouldn't mind kicking things off for us.
Yeah, thanks for putting this together. And I'm glad to be back again. Thanks to Cody for participating, showing up, and sharing as well. It's an honor to be with the two of you. If anyone wants to know where I can be found, my work can be found at patreon.com/thetruthcodes. The Truth Codes is also on Instagram, instagram.com/thetruthcodes.
We appreciate you, Rambo, very much. Always a pleasure to have you in our corner every week. And Cody, please let the followers know where they can find and support you.
Yeah, you guys can find me on YouTube mainly at Decoding with Cody on the screen there. And then my donation link, buymeacoffee.com/decodingwithcody. I also have a X account and Instagram account I don't use much, but you can also find me at Decoding with Cody over there as well on both those sites. And once again, thank you both. Thank you, Rambo and AJ, for once again, and also everyone in the chat for coming along. Let's have some fun tonight. At 5:28 in, I said that. Just note.
I love it. Yeah, and the Enthused Dream says today is 9/9/9, fitting that you're on at 9 o'clock my time. 9 o'clock my time too. So, yeah, a lot of good vibe frequencies coming our way tonight, you guys. Thank you guys for joining. My slide, AJ, also known as Balll Don't Lie, 3 L's in Ball. If you guys are interested in my books, you guys can email me at wordplaybook, 3 O's in book, @gmail.com. So now that we got that knocked out, Rambo, I was thinking maybe we'll kick things off with you. I know that you have a nice trailer video I have teed up here. So let me share my screen. And as I get that set up, I don't know if there's anything else you kind of want to preface before we jump into it.
Yeah, I'll just say that the trial for the alleged second assassination, would-be assassin of Donald Trump last year, that was the one in Florida. It was Ralph. His trial started yesterday, Monday, and it was very significant because Monday night had been a blood moon. Donald Trump was born on a blood moon, and I have decoded that extensively, and the color coding that went along with the shooting incident, the pale pink, and pink is significant. I didn't talk about this, but you see how significant, since I mentioned the pink. The pink actually started when we talked about Hulk Hogan and his 1989 predictive 9/11 program wrestling match, where he predicted, along with Macho Man Randy Savage and his opponents of the night, the Twin Towers, the two wrestlers called the Twin Towers. But back then they had Miss Elizabeth in her pale pink. That's actually what started me pointing out that, well, Ralph was wearing that color, but that's not really part of this video. So this video is more about, it's an intro to it's a pretty long video. It's like 40, it's going to be like 40 minutes. So this is just the intro. Wow. And what I'll do is I'll release an excerpt first, maybe 10 minutes. And so this is about Donald Trump and assassination attempts and common themes that are all tied into that, especially with Ralph, his trial starting yesterday. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to get that pen and paper ready for sure. We appreciate you putting things together like this, not only as a means to, give people a taste of what that $5 a month looks like on your Patreon, but there's so much to learn even just in a 5-minute video, which we're about to share. So we really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing and promoting my work.
Always will, always have.
Thank you.
All right, yeah. So let's jump in, you guys. I'm going to mute myself, take myself off screen here, and let's take a look at the video.
Can you make it full screen? Okay.
How did you find out over the weekend that you were dead? You see that?
No.
People didn't see it for a couple of days. 1.3 million user engagements as of Saturday morning about your demise.
No other United States president has been so vividly identified with his own mortality as Donald J. Trump. Joe Biden's advanced years in physical and mental frailty were the only major associations with him and his own death. It's been one story after another with Donald Trump, which I'll illustrate here in this video. I'll look at the conspiracy theory that the current person identified as Donald Trump is in fact a doppelganger replacement who died in a helicopter crash in New Jersey in 1989. Earlier this year, Trump declared that if Iran assassinated him, Iran would be obliterated. Is that who will be blamed if he is assassinated or said to be assassinated in the Truman Show-like script of life? Abraham Lincoln was shot in a theater by literally the most famous actor in the United States at the time. What are they telling us with that? narrative. On a recent TV appearance on Fox and Friends, Donald Trump expressed very unusual, for him, vulnerability and self-awareness, whether or not he was sincere. I want to try to get to heaven if I can. I'm hearing I'm not doing well. I am really at the bottom of the totem pole.
Oh, wow.
This is about the mortality of Donald Trump.
People didn't see it for a couple days. 1.3 million user engagements as of Saturday morning about your demise.
Holy smokes, Rambo. Amazing work. And you said that the full video is 40 minutes?
Yeah, it's
Wow.
it's going to be 40 plus minutes. So what I'll do is I'll release a 10-minute excerpt first, because it's going to take it's a long time. Just editing that took forever, putting everything together. So I'll do 10 minutes. I'll release an excerpt, and then I'll release. I'll have to work hard to release the entire 40 minutes, but that gives you a gist of what it's about.
Well, that's fantastic. I mean, that scene where it showed the attempted assassin and lining it up with Kathy Griffin.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so with Trump, it's one they've constantly, for whatever reason, talked about his mortality and assassination. He brings it up himself. Well, if Iran assassinates me, I've left instructions. Like, no president ever talked like that. Like, if I'm assassinated, but so this is a thing with him. James Comey, a former FBI director, he was accused of basically sending a death threat to Donald Trump. That was this year. A lot of it happened this year because James Comey did an Instagram post where he said he came across some shells on the beach in the formation of the number 8647. And we know what 86 means. 8 feet is a coffin length for the average adult, and 6 is the burial, 6 feet under, 8'6", and then 4'7", 47th president. James Comey put that out on Instagram, and he got a visit from the Secret Service. They're saying that was a death threat to Donald Trump. This is unprecedented stuff. The FBI director doing stuff like this. Then there is a conspiracy theory that Donald Trump was actually in a helicopter on October 10th, 1989, when 3 of his casino executives died when the helicopter crashed. Now, Trump's story is he was going to get on, and at the last minute had a change of plans, would have been on. And there are some people who theorize that Trump was on, and this is very similar to the Paul McCartney theory, how the current Paul McCartney, but that one is a lot stronger. But I'll explore that. So, and of course he's Batman, and everything ties into Batman. So much of Trump's narrative is quoted into Batman, and actually DC Comics actually killed Batman 22 times, and you can just see the Batman imagery. It's undeniable. Look at the shooter at the Minnesota church who had the shooting at the Assumption Church on it was August 27th. He's in his graduation outfit wearing purple, and he has orange hair. That's not even the real color. And then what does that remind you of? James Egan Holmes. He actually, who did the shooting in Colorado famously at the Batman Dark Knight shooting in Aurora. And so this shooter, Robin Westman, of course, Robin, the Batman connection there. He actually has Holmes's name among as well as the names of other mass shooters on one of his one of the magazines. So yeah, there's so many connections there with the Batman and the death of Batman, and yeah, so that's just pretty much that intro gives you an idea what it's about. It encompasses a lot.
I had no idea that the DC Comics killed off Batman even once, let alone 22 times.
Yeah, 22 different death scenarios for Batman, and some of them leave a they don't tell you definitively who did it. So I'll give away part of the video. So now you have the trial of Ryan Wesley Ralph, who supposedly attempted to assassinate Trump in Florida, which is it's such a ridiculous story anyway. Like anyone knows what the security is like when the president is in a location, especially if you've been in a location where there will be a presidential visit. You don't have an hour by a fence by the 6th hole to set up your equipment and your gun and make sure everything's in range. So when he comes to the 6th hole, like that's such nonsense. The entire perimeter is secured. They secure every detail. This idea that he could do that is ridiculous on the surface of it. It's all ritual. But so his trial is coming up. So look, some of the details in his trial. Number one, they said he was laughing, like the day after he got arrested. No, the day of his arrest, after he was arrested, he was laughing, which I think is a Joker reference. That's not the strongest reference, but they said that he actually released to the court some documents he released were full of riddles. You can even see it on the Wikipedia page. He released a document full of riddles for the court. Like, what is it? Well, that's a reference to the Riddler. So apparently Ralph has a bunch of riddles and puzzles for the court to solve, which is a reference to the Riddler. And there are other Batman villain references too in this Trump narrative. Yeah.
Wow. Cody, you got anything to add on to that? Might still be on you, brother.
Yeah. Not specifically with that, but I mean that is a riddle that, I didn't get time to look more into that whole Annunciation thing, but that's the one of the things that was clearly standing out was the Donald Trump connection. And the James Comey thing I've been looking at for a while, just looking back at the date, and always when something happens, I've always been going back to the date he posted that, because if something were to happen to Trump, it's certainly going to be connected to the date he posted that. And I do find it interesting that tomorrow, actually it would actually be because today's the 9th, but 2 days from now, September 11th, would actually be 119 days since Comey posted that. And that's, of course, 9/11. And don't forget, Donald equals 119. And 119 is the 88th composite number. We know Trump equals 88. And remember what movie came out on 119? Donnie Darko. And we're going to talk about that too. Also, if you go from his actual earshot to September 11th, it's 426 days. Well, I find that interesting because that's the 119th day of the year, 426. It's the 116th day of the year, which is the upside down 119. But also that is the death, that is the funeral this year of the Pope, 426. And there is a very interesting recording that came out of at some point, I think it was in 2017, where there was this very eerie radio recording where it said Donald Trump will go on 426. Donald Trump will go 426. I haven't covered that a whole lot, but there is a guy in our community named Decoding Our Reality who's covered that on his channel. I don't know exactly, it was like a radio station in New Jersey or something like that, but they kept one day in 2017, they were playing this over recording over and over again, was playing saying Trump will go 420 April 26 or something like that. So I'm just saying that because if you go from his earshot to September 11th in 2 days, it's 426 days. And again, it's 119 days since Comey posted that post.
Well, and that 116 is important too. We've touched on that 116 just with, time travel and Donnie Darko, and, Back to the Future has the timestamp at Twin Pines Mall, the, 1:16 a.m. I talked about why, Dame time Lillard's going back to Portland. Portland equals 116, the upside down 9/11, right?
Right.
So
the upside down 9/11, the 116 is, it's just the inversion. And Apache Ghost in the chat. Yeah, that's a good, I just didn't even think of that. But the reason that Comey post happened to begin with, when it did, is because it was 8647 days after 9/11. That was the reason that the post was made. That's the reason they did it on that day, was because of that numerical connection. So that is automatically connected to 9/11. So that's why I'm thinking, well, I mean, I'm not saying he's going to get assassinated on 9/11 in 2 days, but I'm just saying we know Trump has a huge connection to those numbers. And we know already this year they've done something with that 9/11 connection with James Comey. So I'm just pointing that out because I find it interesting.
The Enthused Dreams also says that today they were reporting about 119,000 less jobs created than expected. Very specific number during this time.
Yeah, I saw 911. So there was an article I saw while I was going through. It said 911 less jobs. So I saw that as well. I was like, are you kidding me?
That's perfect.
Yeah, so I do mention that 9/11 connection in the video.
Yeah. I can't believe I forgot that, because that was when that happened. I was like, me and Joseph Aquaviva, we were on that, and it was like, this is the most obvious. That's the kind of stuff right there. That should wake the whole world up, man. Like, there is no way on God greens or what. This pisses me off, guys. Like, why can't people wake up to this? Like that kind of stuff. And the same thing with the 444 stuff the other day. I mean, on Beyonce's birthday, when her husband does the 444 album, like, and then you have a guy, James Comey, posting 8647 or 8647 days after 9/11, of all days, of all numbers to be posted, of all days. It's not even a small number. It's a very big number. So has anyone ever posted that number before somewhere? No. First time ever. And it just happened to be on the perfect day. So again, just my little rant there.
Well, in Codes, to your point about those 444s, I know a lot of people in the community were all over that. I mean, oh my God, I've never seen so many fours in a ritual. And Rambo, I don't know if you had a chance to catch up on any of that stuff, but that was one of the biggest rituals I'd ever seen, with the number 444 and 444. And Cody, you did awesome work, and you've shared some amazing findings with regards to that, in regards to frequency. Would you mind if I pass things off to you, and you maybe kind of just give the Heinz story maybe the meat and potatoes of some of those big things with 528 and 444? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
My internet is so bad, man. I can barely hear you guys half the time. It's cutting out so bad here. It's just my internet. But yeah, anyways, just to kind of segue between that, I'm going to share my screen real fast to kind of get through this. But
yeah,
let's see. So let's talk about the 444 for a second and how that connects to what we were just talking about with 9/11. Remember, and the Illusion pointed this out when the 444 ritual happened on 9/4. And also another thing that should be mentioned here is that when from the World Trade Center bombing in 1993 to the actual 9/11 event was 444 prime days. It was 3119 days. That's the 444 prime. So the 444 was actually connected with the two attacks on the trade centers. So that number is actually associated with 9/11 as well, 444. Now, on Beyonce's birthday, most of you guys already know this. There was the clock was stopped at 444, and I had made a video. I mean, obviously, many people made a video about this. It was number 4 that got spit on by number 44, who was born on 4/4, all that stuff. But the main point was with the 444s is that it was the connection to 9/11 also, but it had this frequency connection. And I know you guys saw my video yesterday, so I'm not going to try to harp on it too much, but I had noticed that with Jalen Hurts being in the game and Hurts being a combination of it's the word for frequency, and noticing that he was, the city of brotherly love he plays for, I started doing research a bit, and I noticed that 528 hertz was being pushed as the love frequency because the 440 hertz. So the premise is that our standard tuning that they've decided on was supposed to be 440. If you just look it up, a 440 hertz. Let's see. So the standard pitch tuning was decided on to be this, and all you need to do. So what I made a whole video about how this was probably connected to 528. Somehow I figured that the numbers 444 and 528 were connected. I didn't even know how yet. So this is where I got mind blowing, because yesterday, as I'm gonna reiterate, I stumbled across the video of the guy who pioneers this research of 528 hertz. And I find out that he did a video about like talking about Jay-Z's 444 album and connecting it to 528 hertz, which I just don't, to me, it's just mind blowing, because this guy, I had never seen his videos. He never seen mine. And then we had this game that happened, which was connected to Beyonce and Jay-Z, and it was connected to 444. So the video I did after the game, I was like so behind the curve, because I had no idea that when you tune, so the premise is that if you tune 440, the standard pitch tuning, and you tune it up 4 hertz to 4/4, you make your standard pitch tuning, your A would be 444. That makes your C note in the scale of the 444 hertz, it makes it come out to 528 hertz. So these two numbers are associated not with gematria, they're associated in a scale of frequency and numbers. The 444 in the A444 tuning, your C note is 528. And I found this out after the fact, right? So, and then I found out that the bridge collapse. Okay, so let me just show you this one slide, because this is the main point. So yeah, and again, in this video, this guy made 2 months ago, he had this little same picture here from 4 days ago or so. and he was talking about
Cody,
528 and 444 in the same.
Cody, time out really quick. So this video that you're referencing, this gentleman that was talking about the 528 and Jay-Z 444, this was months ago. Like, this didn't come out after the 444 ritual we saw on Thursday last week.
No,
right?
this was 2 months ago on his channel, but he's been talking about this for probably 20 years, this guy, because he's been pioneering the 528 research for, you know, what's funny about it though? He keeps saying that he started doing this in 1998. Well, who was born in 1998? Jalen Hurts.
Huh.
And I keep hearing everyone talking about 1998 with this 528 stuff. These people who are working on it, that all this stuff came out in 1998. And I just keep noticing that because Jalen Hurts was born in 1998. And he is the theme of this because he is the Hurts.
Well, and then on top of that, I'm sure you were probably going to touch on this, but the very simple alignment with Beyonce, Jay-Z, musicians, music, frequency, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you know what's crazy is, now I can't verify this. The only way I could verify this is if I get a actual frequency tester. But he said in his video that Jay-Z tuned this album to 444 hertz, which would mean that his C note in his album, when a C note would come along, it would be a 528 hertz. I don't know if that's true because I can't verify it, but that's what he said. I'm assuming he's verified that, but I'm not going to say that that's a fact. But if it is, I wouldn't be surprised if it is. But even if it's not, it still doesn't matter. The album is called 444, and this whole game was tied to this number, and that's obviously the reason why, right? And then don't forget, when Jay-Z came out with 444, it was in 2017. A year later, his wife came out with an album called Everything Is Love. So they bookended. They released 2 albums in a row connected with the 444 and the love, and then we find out that in the 444 hertz, the 528 is the C note, and that's the guy who pioneers this research. He calls the 528 the love frequency. So, and he talked about this in his video 2 months ago, and here I am 2 months later after a football game, which would have seemingly had no connection originally to any of this, when it's, of course, everyone in the community noticed the 444s. We all noticed it. It was easy. But how would we have known that it was actually connected to the 528? And I didn't know that when I made my first video. And here's a slide from my first video. This slide right here. Before I found out about the notes being 444 and 528, this was my slide. And I had thought that I was kind of stretching it in this slide a bit. I almost didn't add this slide in there because I was like, okay, well, this happened on the 4th. And if you type 4th in gematria, it equals 444 in 2 ciphers, and it equals 528. I was like, okay, well, I know about the 528 and I know about the 444, but I didn't know how they connected. You understand? Like, this is why I'm so mind blown. But that's why I'm so mind blown, because I didn't know that that when you tune to 444 hertz, your C is at 528. I had no idea. And so when I saw that, I jumped out of my bed. I was laying in my bed and I just stumbled across this guy's videos, and I didn't even need to open the video. I saw on his thumbnail, I saw Jay-Z's album on his thumbnail, and I was like, are you kidding me? And then I obviously clicked on it and watched it, and he explained it. And I was like, oh my goodness. And then just
Cody,
to
really
make
quick,
this fast.
if I can add one thing about the C note, notice that the 444, it happened in the 3rd quarter. C is the 3rd letter.
Yeah.
Right. So that could be just another tribute to what you're talking about with the C note. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This is obviously what the riddle was. This is such an important riddle I've discovered that needs to be. I might base a lot of my channel around this from now on, if I can find more to it, of course. But like, so the 528 also, I discovered that this improbable coincidence, because so Rambo is talked about, and again, I haven't been able to watch his video because I remember this video from a long time ago from Rambo. He talked about Mahomes and the Om, the sound, the sacred sound. And I was like, well, look at this. Last year in the Super Bowl, we had Mahomes versus Hurts, 2 sound connections, 2 of the same type of similar things. Well, it just so happens that if you measure forward from Mahomes' birth, 528 days, it lands on 2/25/1997. You measure backwards from Hertz's birthday, 528 days. It lands on the same day, guys. This is improbable.
Wow.
And think of this as the heart, like the love. This is their heart date. And what makes it even more crazy is this date written in most of the world is 252. And in gematria, heart equals 25 and 52. And it was in 1997. That's the 25th prime. So this is like literally them telling you the heart date of these two guys is connected with the 528, the love frequency.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Tell me how this is not one of the biggest discoveries in this whole community right now, because like this is wild. And this proves why they had these two guys at the front and center of the Super Bowl when they did.
100%. Absolutely. Yeah, I do remember Rambo's videos on that too. Rambo, did you have anything you wanted to chime in here with Cody's take so far? Because I remember Rambo also had a whole video just about Hurts and Jalen Hurts and how, think about how the field goal posts represent, Rambo, if you could help me out here, like what's the name of the tool?
A tuning fork.
A tuning fork. Yeah.
A tuning fork. Exactly. That's what this guy keeps talking about too. This guy, this 528 Hertz guy that pioneered this, he made his own tuning forks to go with the solfeggio frequencies. Each one, there's 9 solfeggio frequencies that he pioneered, and he made a tuning fork to go with each one. So yeah, that's exactly tuning forks. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I did make, sorry.
No,
go ahead, Rambo.
Yeah, I did make the comparison of the football goalposts to a tuning fork. That was right before the I made that video before the I guess that's the first Super Bowl between Mahomes and Hurts. And I was focusing on the theme of the power of acoustic resonance, and what I also based on, just to emphasize the importance of the power of acoustic resonance, is whether you take official mainstream academic science or the Abrahamic religions, or even which is based on other previous ancient religions, sound is actually where creation comes from. The Big Bang in science. In the Abrahamic religions, God spoke the universe into being. That's sound. And that is also relates to ancient Egypt. In some ancient Egyptian mystery traditions, the universe was created from the sound of the honk of a goose. So yeah, that was my whole basis for that whole Hertz thing, which I had started on. I mean, years back, 3 years ago or so. It was based on that, the power of acoustic resonance.
And yeah, so again, like I remembered that video vaguely in my mind, and it kind of like, that's you pointing that out with Jalen Hurts so long ago. It made me think about the Hurts thing to begin with. And then that's where it just all kind of snowballed into this. So like, and I know other people had mentioned the connection between Hurts, but I know Rambo is one of the first that I can remember to talk about Jalen Hurts and the sound connection. And Mahomes too. I remember the Mahomes thing. And then what Rambo just said about sound being the creation, the vibration. Remember, Tesla said, if you want to understand the secrets, think in terms of, vibrations and frequency, right? So this guy also knows gematria. This guy who does this 528 research, he knows gematria. He uses it in his work, and he uses it to show that there's probably not a coincidence in his book, the Book of 528, Prosperity Key of Love. And so this is his book. And he talks about, I think he's been talking about this for years. So I would say he might have known this key thing for at least 20 or 30 years, this guy. But look, 528, this is what really blows it away. So remember, in my first video, before I even found out the actual musical connection between the two numbers, I had put fourth equals 444, 528, and 444, which is pretty interesting, right? You got two ciphers equals 444 and one equals 528. Well, come to find out from this guy, again, I learned this from him. 528 in Hebrew is key. And think about key as in a pitch or a key. You play in a certain key when you play music. And this also connects us back to the key of David. David, the musician who played a secret chord that pleased the Lord in Hallelujah. That's how Leonard Cohen puts it. But in the Church of Philadelphia, and remember, Jalen Hurts plays for Philadelphia. They are the ones where they talk about the key of David in the Philadelphia chapter. So this connects not only with David, the key of David, but also the pitch, the key. I think the reason that David has the key is because it's a music reference, the key, the music key. But not only does it equal 528 in Hebrew, I stumbled on this accidentally because one of the women I was watching who said that the key equals 528, I don't know if she meant it equaled in Hebrew or it equaled in English, because when you type in the key in English, it equals 528 in two ciphers, and it has a 444. And the Greek name for Jesus Isus equals 444, 528, and 444. And Jesus is the line of David. Gospel equals 444 and 528. But just pay attention to how the key is like inversed with the word Isus, 528 and 444, 444 and 528, and 528, 444. And then I started talking about, just to try to wrap this up, I started talking yesterday in my video, I mentioned how this does connect to the harp that David played. And the harp, one of the guys in the Grateful Dead band from San Francisco, he played a smaller version of the Golden Gate Bridge. And the Golden Gate Bridge does resonate. It sings. And I mentioned this at the end of my video yesterday. And remember, the logo for the Super Bowl this year is featuring the Golden Gate Bridge. And when did the Golden Gate Bridge open to vehicular traffic? On 528. So with all that, and this is the big one, we're talking about the key in the gate, right? You need a key to open gates. Well, the Golden Gate, if you go, I'm not going to bring this up because you guys saw it on my stream yesterday, but you can take my word for it. If you go from this 4-4-4 game between Philadelphia and Dallas, you go back 528 days, it lands on the key bridge collapse. And that is like solidifying. That should solidify everything in everyone's mind, because it's not just any bridge collapse, it's the key bridge collapse. And now, looking forward, we have the new Super Bowl with the bridge, the logo this year, which has the bridge Golden Gate right on it. So Super Bowl 60, there it is, the bridge. And also, somebody filled me in, one of my subscribers, and you'll get a kick out of this, AJ. If you go 528 days forward from our 4-4-4 game, it's Valentine's Day. And it's not just any Valentine's Day. The Super Bowl will be that day in 2027.
Yep. Yes, sir. Wow.
So you tell me if this is not the riddle of the century with the Hurt stuff, because like for me, I feel just like mind blown in so many ways, because I never would have found this. Just the way that the universe led me to this is just like crazy to me. And thanks to that subscriber for pointing that out, because now we can project ahead to the Super Bowl in 2027 on Valentine's Day. So you go 528 days back from that game, it's the key bridge collapse. And then you go 528 days forward, it's the Super Bowl on Valentine's Day. And again, 528 is the guy wrote the book literally called The Key of Love. So Valentine's Day and the key bridge, it's like right there.
I'm looking up right now really quick where the 2027 Super Bowl is. Do you know?
Los Angeles.
Oh, it's in LA? Huh. Okay. Well, that's interesting too, Codes, because since you still have your screen up, I'm not trying to go down a whole separate rabbit hole here, but as you were presenting, I was just thinking about 5/28, how it can be written as a date. And makes me think of May 28th, right?
Right.
Well, type in Phil Hartman death date.
Phil Hartman death date.
Yep. So just think about that. Philadelphia, city of brotherly love. Phil, his name's Phil, last name Hartman, right? And he was killed by his wife. He was murdered by his wife. So like there's that kind of whole love theme there too. You know, they were married. They were lovers.
Wow.
Apparently. You see what I'm saying? And he died in Los Angeles.
Well, this kind of brings me to my next point real fast that I haven't shared with anyone yet to add on to this. Because I told you about the wrestling connection, and I really wanted to get to this because this is new info.
Yeah.
This guy, he died on 5/28. And again, vehicular traffic on the Golden Gate opened on that day. So that's a big day. And remember, I told you the Golden Gate is known to have a frequency, a sound to it.
Mm-hmm.
And so just a few days before our 444 game, in fact, it was like 4 days before, WWE had a show in Paris called Clash in Paris. It was all connected to Princess Diana. But the guy who ended up standing tall during that show at the end was Seth Rollins. And he's born on May 28th.
Oh, man.
In fact, he's born 49 years to the day after the Golden Gate traffic opened. So think about that. When did this ritual happen? It happened on 4/9 with the 444.
San Francisco, home of the 49ers.
49ers, yeah. So Seth Rollins, and what's so important about this guy? Well, not only does he have the 5/28 birthday, he's famous for having a song, his theme song, his entrance. He's one of the main guys where the fans sing him his song. He always says to the fans, "Sing my song."
Oh, wow.
And he is the leader of the group called The Vision now. And I've been talking about these guys with you guys because this group, it consists of him as the leader, Paul Heyman, who's born on 9/11, as his wise man, who used to be for Roman Reigns. I've talked about that with the serious stuff before. But the two guys that he got to be along with him in his group, which is called The Vision, is Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. Both of them have the name Braun. Well, I've showed before that in Swedish, the name Braun means bridge. So he has two guys with him, both named Braun, both in Swedish. Braun means bridge. We're talking about a guy who was born on the day the traffic on the Golden Gate Bridge started. And these guys, one of the guys is named Braun Breaker, like breaking something, breaking a bridge. I don't know. The other guy, he does tsunamis. His movie is called a Tsunami, Bronson Reed. And so the point is that these guys, this group, they're called The Vision. And what I do find super interesting is if you go back to these 3 ciphers that I already used to decode, notice how Comey equals 444. Oh, interesting. But so they're called The Vision.
Get out of here, man.
So, and it's in the same ciphers too. I'm not like using different. I'm finding all this in the same ciphers. Just these 3: Latin, Sumerian, and Verse Sumerian. So that means that the name of this group, if you take out the Vision equals 444 and 5/28, and Rollins is known as the Visionary. He's known as 3 different things: the Visionary, the Revolutionary, and the Architect. So that's kind of the addition to what just happened a few days before this game and how it ties, the wrestling tied in with this theme as well. the only guy in WWE born on 5/28 is this guy, and just a few days before this, you had him starring. And then funny, it's just crazy how it all came together. And I know there's more. I mean, I know
you
there's
know
more.
you know what's crazy, Codes? With Rambo kicking things off, talking about Trump. Someone shared with me just the other day, anything that equals 88 in the simplest cipher, English ordinal, equals 528 in Sumerian. So Trump equals 528.
Yeah, I shared that in my video. I shared that in my last video also.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
but what makes that interesting too is because remember, Mercury, there's a huge Mercury riddle here, because Mercury has a orbital period of approximately 88 days. So 528 days is 6 Mercury years. Exactly. So it's exactly 6 Mercury years. Well, what's interesting about that is you have the 88 and the 6. You have 88 days times 6, 688, right? What makes that super interesting is Kobe Bryant was born when the moon was in the nation 688. And where's Kobe Bryant from? Philadelphia, going back to the brotherly love stuff. So that's some of the next stuff I'm going to be looking deeper into, how Kobe might connect. This guy's name is Colby, which is not far off from. He's got the Lopez
just
in
like
his name.
Cody.
Yeah, pretty close to Cody too. So, and again, Lopez means wolf.
You know,
I think that's all I got.
I'll add to that since you were just talking about Kobe. For those that don't know, it's pretty. I don't know. It was a short-lived music career for Kobe, but he had a rap album back in the day. And there was a song called "Kobe I Love," and like I remember the chorus. It was like KOBEILOVE. And it's just like terrible rap, you know. But here we go. I just saw it on YouTube. Kobe featuring Tyra Banks.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's actually just called KOBE, but then the chorus is KOBEILOVE, and of course he's from the city of brotherly love. So talking about music and frequency and love and all that stuff. There's a way to kick off the Kobe connection.
Yeah, and remember, Kobe has a connection to that 143. And that's the acronym for "I love you," right?
Right.
Or
but there was a whole other thing that I shared. It's escaping me at the moment, but Kobe wore the number 143. His explanation was that, and Rambo, you have an awesome memory of this kind of stuff. You might not remember, but you know, Kobe wore the number 143 in some like scouting camp. And then they asked him why he chose that number or why he chose number 8 once he was in the pros. And he said, because he wore the number 143, you add it up, you get 8, right? Kind of going back to the 88, which equals 528. But yeah.
And just one thing to add with this Phil Hartman thing that's pretty clear right here is look at the year he died. 1998, the year Jalen Hurts was born.
Yep. There you go.
So the 1998 is, and again, if you guys go watch these videos of this guy who talks about 528, he's always talking about the year 1998 or 1999. He always talks about how he wrote books then, or that's when he was finding stuff, and again, this Jalen Hurts, I'll have to see how many days is between his birthday and Jalen Hurts' day he died and Jalen Hurts' birth, because I'm assuming that. Thank you for bringing this guy up, because it's clear that this guy's probably tied in now as well.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was as simple as just the date of his death, you talking about 528, and just his first and last name, Phil Philadelphia Hartman Hart, right?
Yeah.
So it's right there. That's funny. It was 528 to September 4th, the opening of the Super Bowl. That was 106, and we just kicked off the 106 NFL season. So there's that one.
Really?
Yeah, so if you go back to 9-4. Oh, shoot. Sorry, I must have looked at a different alignment. My bad.
It's 99 day. What is 106 days after this? September 11th. Wow.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. And shout out to Rambo, because Rambo's done a lot of work on the tridents, right? The tridents are kind of like tuning forks, no? They kind of look like it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, they are related, but the one if you want to use mythological figures, figure who uses what looks like the tuning fork, it is Pluto. Pluto's staff is the bident. It has two prongs. So there, it actually relates more to Pluto because he has the bident, which looks like the tuning fork, and he's the god of the underworld.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that
Biden's
might
like
have something to.
Yeah,
That might have something to.
I'm gonna say real quick. Bident sounds like Biden. Pluto is the god who holds the bident. The planet Pluto rules the zodiac sign of Scorpio. Biden is a Scorpio, so Biden sounds like Bident, and he's a Scorpio ruled by Pluto. So yeah, it just synchronizes in that way.
Definitely.
And with that, maybe being connected to this 444 game, that was on. Was it on the 248 day of the year?
It was on 9/4. I think it. Yeah, I think so. I can double check.
Well, I can get it here. I just wanted to check. No,
247. Yeah.
I was just gonna say that the next day is a 248, which that's a Pluto number as well. But yeah, that's a good connection. I mean, something with Biden, maybe even.
Well, I've been saying for a little bit. I mean, I don't know. I feel like Biden's time on the world stage is coming to an end sooner than later, but I don't think that's a big, groundbreaking assumption. I don't think a lot of people are going to be that surprised. But
I mean, the three old guys I'm watching this year at some point is Clint Eastwood, and I know you brought that up.
Yeah.
But also Biden and maybe King Charles even at some point. But they have cancer too. Both of Biden and Charles both have cancer, so there's something going on with that. But I think that Clint Eastwood, just because of the Back to the Future connection to the Super Bowl next year.
Yeah, for me, a lot of my stuff with Clint Eastwood was more looking back on what you and I were talking about, Cody, and what we've shared, in prior videos, just about the helicopter crash in the Hudson River, and you have the movie Miracle on the Hudson, which was directed by Clint Eastwood, and then he also, like you reminded me, Codes, that he also did Sully, right? Both movies with Tom Hanks, for what it's worth. But yeah, just being in the year of plane helicopter crashes and stuff, and Clint Eastwood just so happens to have his name as a director in a handful of these movies that are related to that. Something to keep an eye on, that's for sure.
Yeah, and the Super Bowl, all that stuff we've already found with Back to the Future and the end of the line. I think that, with Marty basically being Clint Eastwood in the film, like, I don't know. I just feel like sometime between now and then it could possibly be. I'm not saying it will, but I don't know. It just would seem like a good time. He's 95 years old. I mean, it wouldn't even seem shocking, but I mean.
Wait. Time out. Hold on. Mr. S says Clint Eastwood also did Camp Mystic.
Huh?
Mr. S, what are you talking about? Is there a movie called Camp Mystic that he directed? Hold on. Hold the phone. Huh. Mystic River. If you search Mystic River, Clint Eastwood.
Mystic River,
2003 film. It was directed and scored, meaning he did the music for it too, by Clint Eastwood. Wow. For those that don't see why Camp Mystic or Mystic matters, yeah, Mr. S clarified. Going back to the Texas floods and Camp Mystic and all that. Holy smokes. I mean, we could always carve this for another decode, but thank you for sharing, Mr. S. That's, man, that just makes the case for why Clint Eastwood should be careful.
Yeah, and I kind of wanted to just touch on something that did happen since our last thing real fast. We had that that cable car crash in Portugal.
Yes.
Well, I had wrote both of you guys kind of excitingly about this, and just shared how it was clearly connected to our theme with Back to the Future. It was in Portugal, like Portal. It was a car crash on a cable. What happens in Back to the Future Part 3? It's a car on a railroad track. And what else was it? Clint Eastwood was 95 years and 95 days old on that day. That was why I was like, wow, that's interesting. There was more, but I just wanted to bring that to attention. I don't remember it all, but there was some stuff I found connecting that. I think, it's not important, but I just wanted to bring attention to that because it is a story that I didn't cover, but I did look into, and it was clearly connected to our Back to the Future because it was like on the day of the season starting or something, or the day before. So, and we know that the last game, the Super Bowl this year, will be in San Francisco, the end of the line. So the train connection.
Yeah, I love that. Mystic River. I gotta jot that down. I can't let that escape me. Mystic River. It just makes me think of the movie The Flood, right? That we talked about on Donuts channel, like the flooding, and the camp is by rivers, and wow, Mystic River, 2003.
And yeah, so I don't know if you guys wanted to try to jump into the Donnie Darko stuff yet, or we want.
I was about to say. I mean, since you were talking about Portugal, and I believe that Diego Jota is from Porto, Portugal, or it was something like that.
That had to be clearly I didn't look into how that rail crash connected to him, but I guarantee it was guaranteed. Oh, I know what it was. The big connection I didn't even say. That rail that crashed, it opened in 1885. That's the year of Back to the Future 3.
Is it 1885 or 1985?
No, the Back to the Future Back to the Future 3, they go back to 1885. That's where the car, the DeLorean, goes on the rail and it teleports. Well, not only did this rail open in 1885, the day of the crash, which was September 3rd, was literally the beginning of the timeline when Marty goes back. He goes back to September 2nd, 1885. So they crashed this rail train, which was open in 1885, like one day after Marty had arrived back to 1885 on September 2nd. On September 3rd, that's the day that Marty was getting hung as Clint Eastwood. So you remember the scene in the movie where he arrives back and he's chased by horses first, and then he goes to the city, and then Mad Dog Tannen tries to hang him, and he's saved by Doc Brown. Well, that happened on September 3rd, 1885 in the movie. And this rail crash happened on September 3rd. So on the anniversary of that. And then the next day is where Doc Brown saves Clara Clayton from going off the rails into the ravine, which causes the ravine to be changed, the name of the ravine to be changed. So yeah, it's clearly connected. And I don't have slides or anything, but I just wanted to really speak on that in some way so that people knew that there was something going on with that.
Yeah, no, those are all great points, man. Mr. S is on a hot one right now, pointing out that Clint Eastwood's also from San Fran. I'm sure that's another reason why you're keeping an eye on him, and he's known for a lot of his Western films and Dirty Harry, and
that we also had the death of that on the day of the Italy guy. What's the fashion designer?
Armani.
Yeah, well, that Clint Eastwood is known for spaghetti westerns, and spaghetti western is Italy. They're made in Italy and Spain.
Oh my God.
So yeah, that's definitely a theme. I just didn't have time to look more into it. But I know that theme is still going there.
Yeah, definitely. But no, I'm with you, Codes. I mean, we're just over the 1 hour mark, and I guess we can enlighten the crowd now after our last live stream last week. Rambo, Cody, and I were on offline for probably was at least an hour and a half, and it was completely by accident. We were just kind of shooting the shit, and we were talking about King James. I was sharing some stuff with what's going on with that as LeBron's entering his 40. He's going to be 41. Blah blah blah. And then Rambo saw something, was like, wait a minute, what is that? Because we were talking about Donnie Darko, right? So Rambo, I guess I'm going to pass things off to you. I believe you said you have like a couple things put together to kind of start going into this, let's say, Donnie Darko Part 5 decode at this point. But my God, you guys better buckle up because this one's huge. This is crazy.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, well, I'll just go over real quick what got me started on it, and then you guys added your points. So I'll just go over what got me started on it. But before that, really quick, it's a reminder of why. Okay, Donnie Darko. It's a movie that came out in 2001. Even Back to the Future, that came out in '85. So why are we talking about this now? I mean, so we could have decoded like anything, after those years. Why now? What's the big deal? Well, I've explained, just to go over real quick, why 2025 specifically is relevant. And it has to do with what's come out in 2025. So this is a big one. The remarks by a White House director for technology who talked about we can annihilate time and space, essentially talking about teleportation and time travel. This is mainstream. This is the government. This is from the White House coming out and saying this is possible. And it's done in 2025, which is not a coincidence that it's 2025. Also, the date that he did it on, maybe announcement, was April 14th, the 14th of April. And that's because it's for the 144 code. The time is 144 in the Agrippa cipher, I believe. And there are 1,440 minutes in a day. So that's why this announcement by the White House director was made. And also, so it's an example of, I've gone over this before. White House advisor Michael Kratsios goes viral for sci-fi-like claim that U.S. can manipulate time and space. Yes, I mean, and it's also because it's a Trump White House. Trump's uncle got access to Nikola Tesla's papers, and Nikola Tesla did talk about the ability for teleportation and time travel. It just so happened Trump's uncle did get access to Tesla's papers, and all the connections with Trump and Back to the Future. Also, yeah, so that's a journey. Also, there's the movie They Live. What's They Live about? It's about dimensions and being able to perceive outside of the three dimensions. And I've shown the scene where they go underground, walk into a ballroom of the elite. They have this hidden elite gathering. And what does he say? And this movie was released in 1988, They Live, starring Roddy Piper. And they say by 2025, the elite will basically have everything in place by 2025. So they are singling that out. There's another 2025 example. This is more from music. I believe it's my patron Diane Young who told me about this. I believe that was who told me. The song "Crack in the World" by Sammy Hagar. This was released in 1977. But he talks about the chorus. There's a crack in the world. Just 50 more years, we're going to know why, when, where, how, and who gets to go. So let's all have a good time before the great divide, because things will start separating come 2025. That was done in 1977. So this is why I say, just as a setup, why this year specifically is why all these types of movies and coding is relevant, because they've been pointing to 2025 on so many levels. Yeah, this is They Live. I talked about They Live. So this is the scene. This is the iconic scene from Donnie Darko, which is where, if you've seen it, it's a spoiler. I'm sorry, but it is a movie you prefer to see without spoiler. Nonetheless, this is what happens when Frank, the character Frank, who wears it's kind of like a cheesy Halloween bunny mask, like a horror bunny mask. He finally takes his mask off, and we see who's under the mask. And this is what he looks like. And his eyes is very graphic. It's not a gory movie at all, but this is the one gory scene. He's missing an eye. He's been shot in the eye, and he's bleeding from the eye. This is like the central scene of the movie. And then as you were scrolling last week, we saw this scene. He's He plays for Isaiah Stewart, is his name, center for the Detroit Pistons. On November 21st, 2021, this is the picture when you're scrolling through. I said, hey, stop there. This is Frank. So I said, this is just like Frank, bleeding out of the right eye.
And the long black hair, too. That was kind of the other thing. I was like, look, he's even got the long black hair to go with the right eye.
So the images were very similar. And then you guys added to, but one thing I did mention besides that, this looks like him when he's older, just kind of recreating the scene.
Yeah.
In later years, well, the blood coming out of the eye. And so I just put it back to back to give you an idea of how similar it's, the bleeding from the right eye. And this was Frank. Think of Francis, Pope Francis. And so a big part of Donnie Darko was the number 28. So it's a time travel movie and it's a mind twister. It starts on October 2nd, 1988. 28 days later, the movie ends 28 days later, but 28 days later is back on October 2nd, 1988. So it's kind of a time loop, but 28 is very important. He even has it. He wakes up on a golf course and he has this written as, 28 days, 6 hours, 42 minutes, 12 seconds, but it's all about 28 days. So actually, I was thinking about it when we saw this. I said the most appropriate number for this guy, if he's Frank, would be 28. I wasn't sure, but I said, wait a minute, I think he is number 28. And he was. He's number 28, which that ties into it. And then from there, you guys came up. I have some other connections, but you guys had connections after this. I'll let you guys talk about what you came up with.
Well, I just remember, once again, this was after our show last week, and it all started with me talking about LeBron James, and I was pulling something up about him. And then, we were scrolling, and Rambo said, wait, hold on. Scroll back up really quick. Who's that guy? And I was like, oh, yeah, I remember this story. By the way, this was LeBron James who hit Isaiah Stewart. This was back in 2021. Hence why this image came up, I guess. And the first big one for me, besides the obvious, was we were watching the clip of when it happened, and then Rambo, like, you said something like, you were like, I bet you he wears number 28. And I was like, oh my God, let's look. And we were looking, and then that happened. I was like falling out of my chair. And then sure enough, I mean, to add to more of the 28s, me and KODI and Rambo, we just started kind of coding together. And sure enough, I looked up Jake Gyllenhaal and looked at his birthday. And I looked from the date of his birthday to when this happened. You guys can, we don't need to switch screens, but it was November 21st is when this happened. And that was exactly 28 days before Jake Gyllenhaal, Mr. Donnie Darko, before his birthday. So you had another 28 there. But KODI, I know you, and then you went on and found a really big one about James Duvall, the actor who plays Frank. I don't want to steal your thunder, KODI, but that was a really big one. Because
gosh, I'm so bad about forgetting to turn on my put my mic back on.
Oh, but you're fine. So I'll give it to KODI really quick with the stage, and then I can pass it back to you, Rambo. Hold on a second. Sorry, go ahead, Codes.
So as they showed, it was LeBron James, or King James, who gave. And the reason we found this is because I was first talking about how the King stuff with the 286. And even before we get into that, what's crazy, I know I shared this with you, AJ, but you guys know how I was talking about the 286. Well, we found this 286 days after the anniversary of the event, the guy who got hit in the eye. And what's the first three numbers on Donnie Darko's arm? 286.
Oh my God, I didn't even think about that. Oh, geez.
And so that's why we found this, because I was originally talking about the 286 and how the phrase "the king is dead, long live the king" equals 286 in French and English. Right? And so, anyway, it's just crazy, a synchronicity that we found this 286 days after the event that we found. And that was the number that led us to this, essentially. And it's on the arm of Donnie Darko. So it's just, that's organically, like, perfectly synced. That's just how we even found that. But anyway, the guy that got elbowed, his name is Isaiah Stewart. He got elbowed by LeBron James, King James. And he got elbowed by James, and his last name is Stewart. So the real King James, his name is James Stewart, with the Charles in the middle. And I'm not going to get into all the King Charles stuff, but anyway, his name is James Stewart, King James. James gets elbow Stewart, so it's clearly a king riddle there.
Yeah.
But the big thing, going back to the 28th and Donnie Darko, well, not only did, as Rambo pointed out, he's wearing the number 28, like it's the big number. He got elbowed by number 6, LeBron James.
That's right. I'm trying to remember if he wore 6 in that year. Was he wearing 6 during that actual game?
I'm pretty sure.
I'm not like denying it. I know he's gone back and forth from 23 and 6 like a few times, but like,
yeah, but
oh my God, I didn't
have
even
to
think
look.
about that.
I didn't look at the actual video. Actually, I didn't even think about
I'll pull
that.
it up just to double check. But yeah,
like,
go ahead, Cody. Sorry.
But so the 28-6 is the first 3 numbers on Donnie Darko's arm. We found this 286 days after the anniversary of the event. If it's true, I mean, LeBron James does wear number 6. So in a way, the 286 is coded into that as well.
He was wearing the 6. He was wearing the 6. You're absolutely right.
Okay, so yeah, see, that's just crazy. That is absolutely insane.
Dude,
like this number was what started it, because I brought this up to you guys, and then somehow we got to this, and then somehow it ended up being like the perfect number for this whole thing. But yeah, going back to the 28, how Donnie Darko has 28 days, and Isaiah Stewart wears the number 28, as Rambo pointed out. Well, the guy who plays Frank, who gets the eye wound in Donnie Darko, his name is James. And he's from Detroit. And this is what I found. He's from Detroit. The guy who plays Donnie the Rabbit, Frank, gets the eye wound, is from Detroit. And the player who gets the eye wound plays for Detroit.
And the game was in Detroit.
And the game was in Detroit. And on top of that, if you measure from the birth of Frank, the actor, to the birth of Isaiah Stewart, it's 28 years and 254 days. And the reason that's important is because the actor who plays Frank was born on the 254th day of the year. So it's like 28 years later and 254 days. The guy was born on day 254. This is a huge 9/11 connection as well. But the point is, it was 28 years. So it was 28 years later. And the reason that might have a connection with this year, we've had the new 28 Years Later movie came out this year. So you have the 28 Days Later. I'm sure that the 28 Days Later franchise is connected to Donnie Darko, because think about it. In Donnie Darko, it's all about 28 days later. And that whole franchise called 28 Days is all about 28 days later, 28 weeks later, 28 years later. So.
And to Rambo's point, like, with the emphasis of time in 2025, let's not forget, you pointed this out earlier, Cody, that next year's Super Bowl is on the date written 2/8. So we got that too in San Francisco. Yeah, sorry, Rambo, I want to take this back really quick. I thought Cody was still going to have his screen up, but I guess to put a cherry on top with what I found out after the fact, and shout out Myron, because when I shared with him everything we found that night, he was like, bro, and not to mention that there was a player who was drafted right after LeBron James in 2003 by Detroit. Hold on, I just got to pull it up. I just got to pull it up. Hold on a second. Share screen.
I hope the chat is getting this, because this is some pretty mind-blowing stuff.
This is absolutely crazy, you guys. Look at this. So with everything we just talked about, yeah, Marty's already ahead of it. LeBron James is the one that hit him in the eye, not anybody else. Number 6 hits 28 with all the 286s that Cody was on, and then the eye symbolism, the right eye of all eyes, the long black hair, 28 days before Jake Gyllenhaal's birthday, etc. Well, don't forget, for any baller fans out there, that Darko Milicic was drafted 1 pick after LeBron. LeBron was the first pick in the 2003 draft, followed by Darko Milicic to Detroit. And you know, there could probably be a part 10 about this where I can start looking into Darko's, the date from his birthday to his draft date to the date of this event to the date of Frank's birthday, James Duvall to Jake Gyllenhaal. I'm sure there's so much more, but let's just keep it here. And that this guy's name is Darko. Like,
there's for sure a big web here that we probably don't. I guarantee you, if we really did try to follow this, I got a bit distracted with all the other stuff going on this week. But if we did follow this more with Donnie Darko, Darko Milicic, Isaiah Stewart, King James, LeBron James, I guarantee it would probably get even more mind-blowing. But there's only so much time in a day, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and there's all three of us, just like everybody else, like we're spinning a million plates and we're trying to, get things done. So I'm just glad that we were able to kind of bring this back to a head a week later and kind of just off the cuff. I remember all the big ones that we talked about. So I just had to share that about Darko Milicic went to Detroit right after LeBron James went to Cleveland and whatnot. This guy ended up being a big bust, but
Serbian, that's just, it's just weird because that's where I just came back from, Serbia. So
yeah,
there's an interesting organic connections to Serbia. I just got back from there, and I think, wait, is he born in Novi Sad? I was literally there. I was in the exact city this guy was born.
You were in Novi Sad right before you got back.
I was in Novi Sad,
Ohio, where LeBron James is from.
Oh my gosh, what the heck,
dude?
No way,
bro. He joined. Wait, what is this? Dates joined. He joined the 28th day of September. I don't know what that means. Maybe that was the last. I don't know. Whatever. I just saw another 28th.
Yeah, mind blown. I can't believe I came from Novi Sad, Serbia, where he's from, back to the United States. And what's crazy is when my stepdad got in that car accident, the guy, our lawyer is they're based out of Akron.
Oh dear.
Where LeBron James was born. And my other dad who had, remember I told you guys, my stepdad got in a car accident on the same day my original dad was scheduled to have a surgery. My real dad was scheduled to have a surgery. My real dad is born in Akron. And then because of my stepdad's car crash, we had a lawyer from Akron come out, and he's the one handling our case. And I just got back from Novi Sad, where Darko Milicic was born. Like, what the heck?
Dude, that's unbelievable, man. I don't even know what to fully digest about that.
But that's what I mean. Is this matrix is truly remarkable, man. Like, things that are happening, everything that happened with my stepdad in general was mind blowing. But just finding layers like this to add onto it is just of all places in the world I could have come back from, and then this happening with my dad and all this stuff, like it just happens to be this guy, that drafted right after LeBron.
Yep. Yeah, that was pretty much what he was known for, being the pick right after LeBron, and hence why, Carmelo Anthony ended up with Denver and blah, blah, blah. But
I have a few quick little connections. Just really quick.
No, of course.
I'll go through them really quick.
No, you're fine. You're fine, Rambo. Back to you, my friend.
So the theme here. So this is a big theme that they do. It's the movie theater. The movie theater is a very important symbol because you've seen it in other places. And I can't say I know exactly what it is, but we just talked about how we just recently have a shooting in Minnesota, and the alleged shooter, has written a direct reference on his magazine to James Holmes, who did was that 2012 theater shooting in Colorado. So the movie theater there is it's a very significant and powerful image. It means something. Where else have we seen the movie theater? Most importantly, in history, it's there he is. So he has the name Holmes. You see the name Holmes here, and he's imitating the orange hair. There's a close up. It's Abraham Lincoln. There's the original theater shooting, and it's a very important point that, again, the person who they say did it is John Wilkes Booth, was actually one of the most popular actors in the United States at the time. Obviously, there's no movie theaters, there's no film, so it was plays. So acting was done on stage. live exclusively. And he was one of the most popular stage actors. In fact, he was one of the early heartthrobs because of his looks. He was also a sex symbol. He's like the Brad Pitt of his time, or George Clooney or whatever. So imagine, so John Wilkes Booth shooting the president. It may sound absurd, but to take into account the spirit of the time, so the times when it happened, that actually would be the same as, just say, Brad Pitt assassinating Donald Trump. Honestly,
Yeah.
so when you put it in those terms, it sounds absurd, but when you're looking into the past, it doesn't sound absurd because we don't get a sense of John Wilkes Booth's celebrity status. We just don't get that. We only know him as an assassin, so we don't.
Right.
And if you did, you kind of scratch your head like, okay, come on, man, did this really happen? But it's a theater. That's the whole point. And I think that's a big part of this. The movie theater is a big part of this. They're telling you a lot more. And what another work of art, which I think it may be kind of be alluding to this kind of theme of pretty much the world as a stage. It's the song "Life on Mars," released in 1971 by David Bowie. I think David Bowie has there's a lot of depth to his work. There's so much more meaning. You could just do a channel on Decoding David Bowie, and it would tie in with so much that's happening now. But this song, "Life on Mars," is a clue to something, I believe. So, I mean, there's always the official, report, whatever story about what songs really mean. But I look at the lyrics and I came across my own meaning. Well, so without going through all the lyrics, the song really is about a girl. Her mother is making her watch something, a movie. I guess the official story is the movie is about life on Mars, but that's not how I see it. I may be wrong, who knows? But I don't. To me, that's really not what the lyrics to me don't come across as meaning what they say it means. This girl watching a movie about life on Mars, and she's using her imagination. No, to me, it seems like humans are being watched from Mars, and so she's probably on Mars watching humans, and what she's watching is Earth. So they just describe some scenes on Earth, which is the chorus: sailors fighting in the dance hall. So they're being watched. They're watching humans. This type of thing that happens on Earth that's entertaining to the observer. Oh man, look at those cavemen go. It's the freakiest show. Take a look at the lawman beating up the wrong guy. Oh man, this is the kicker for me. Wonder if he'll ever know he's in the best-selling show. So all these humans doing this stuff, getting into fights, arguing, the drama, the wars, the conflict, things like this. A law enforcement officer arresting the wrong person or attacking the wrong person, the innocent person. Someone's observing this and laughing their heads off because it's so amusing to them. But these are humans going about their life, all the conflict. And of course, whoever's watching is not very empathetic. Wonder if he'll ever know he's in the best-selling show. So it's like they're looking at these are the things that happen on Earth. This is the Truman Show, where there's this audience that you don't realize it. So where this ties into, KODI obviously has his reputation as many, many brilliant decodes, but this is one that really resonates with me with KODI. KODI did this a decode where KODI, you said that you saw the name Eiffel for Eiffel Tower, and to you it sounded like Eiffel. So what you did in English, so what you did is you looked at the translation into French of Eiffel. And then this is the KODI did this. So I got this from KODI. This is really astonishing because it's right up the alley of what I'd been looking into. Eiffel Tower, Grand Slam, in every cipher with the translation into French of Eiffel, which is les yeux pleins. And in every cipher, that was a mind blow. KODI's come up with a lot of stuff. For me, this is the one that I never would have found this. But the reason is it ties into other stuff I'd thought about. So it ties into this life on Mars thing. So you're being watched from Mars. That's actually what this song is about. That's what it's saying. He's in the best. This is Truman Show stuff. He's in the best-selling show. Wonder if he'll ever know. And this was done in 1971. This is describing the Truman Show, but this is telling you where they're watching from. And that's on Mars. So Eiffel and Eiffel Tower. And where's the Eiffel Tower located? In Paris? The Champ de Mars. Why is there a Mars reference to Eiffel Tower? And KODI cracked this one. It is related to Eiffel when you translate into English. It's amazing how they synchronize between languages. So in tarot, there's a tarot trump card for every planet. The trump card for the planet Mars is the Tower, and there are many renditions of tarot cards and their symbols. But the Tower in the Aleister Crowley deck, which seems to be widely considered the most powerful, I guess if you're intuitive, the Tower, which is the card that represents Mars, it's not like the other decks, but it has the eye observing. Now, why would there be an eye, an all-seeing eye, on the card that represents Mars? So for me personally, I mean, this is like the things resonated the most with Cody's finds, because it ties into the stuff I've been discovering. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, thanks, Rambo, again for bringing that up, because it's been so long since I even looked at that. But as I'm thinking about that, it actually connects into what I was just talking about. You just used the word it resonates with you. We're talking about the frequency resonation. Well, the Eiffel Tower was originally used to send radio frequency. And I just told you guys how Seth Rollins, right, the wrestler who was born on 5/28, he stood tall and won the last match of the night in France, full tower behind him. Like the WWE stage on that night was the Eiffel Tower. And why is that so important? Because his group that he's part of is called the Vision.
Wow.
You get it? The Vision, the Eiffel Tower.
Cody, I'm sorry, man. I don't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to shout out Enthused Dreams. Great point here. Paris, pair of eyes. Just in the word Paris. There you go. To your point, Vision, right?
Exactly. And that's why I believe they had Seth Rollins be the main theme of that show in Paris. He's the Vision, like the Eiffel. I thought about that during the show because I was like, wait, like if you look up the stage to the Clash in Paris show, you'll see that it was the Eiffel Tower. Seth Rollins came out with his The Vision. His song is called The Vision. His theme song is literally called The Vision. And then that connects to the frequency because, as I said, if you look into the Eiffel Tower, it was originally sending out telecommunications frequencies. So that somehow that connects what you just brought up there, Rambo. It connects back to what we were just talking about with the frequency and the vision. Because now it makes even more sense why Eiffel Tower, the Vision, the eye. Yeah,
great connections. Yeah, and again, so intuitives say this. I mean, to most people, I'm not an intuitive. I see different images from different tarot decks. Crowley clearly had some kind of insight here, because on the tower, which represents Mars, he has this, the all-seeing eye. Why would you associate the all-seeing eye with Mars? And it goes along with Bowie's song. It goes now in the Truman Show. They didn't say where. I guess the Truman Show made it sound like everybody's on Earth, but there's a section of Earth, I guess, that's kind of sequestered away or something, and they don't realize. I don't know if they go into where it's being observed from, but that's what David Bowie's alluding to.
Is that tower on fire?
Yeah, there's fire. There's fire. Yes.
Oh my goodness! Seth Rollins' song starts out, "Burn It Down."
Yep.
So yeah, he has the vision, and his song, the first thing that starts out when the song starts, it says "Burn It Down." It's like a screaming like rock sound. Burn it down. Yeah, wow. And he comes out with the tower, burn it down.
Now there's a reason they use fire for Mars. What does Mars have to do with fire? Okay, it rules Scorpio. It rules Aries, which is a fire sign, but the planet itself has what's said to be, we have to take their word from it. We can't go and see it for ourselves. We'll take their word for it, that the biggest volcano in the solar system is on the planet Mars. And they say it is 3.5 times the height of Mount Everest. And it's a volcano. So that's a fiery reference. And that's what the tower is. This is my own epiphany, which I'm pretty confident that I am correct in reading this.
the reason this fiery image for the tower and Mars is a reference to that volcano on Mars. 3.5, that's the tower. 3.5 times the size of Everest with fire. And it's called Olympus Mons, which means Mount Olympus. That's the real Mount Olympus. The Mount Olympus in Greece, that's the one on Earth. But there's a Mount Olympus on Mars, and that's the volcano. Now that ties into mythology because the volcano god, the fire god, is Vulcan. To Rome, to Greece, he came before Rome. He's called Hephaestus, and he's if you go back to even further back, the original archetype, because it didn't start with Greece. The original archetype for that character, the volcano god, who's also the god of invention, is Kotharu, or Kothar wa Hasis of ancient Babylonia or Sumer. That's the original archetype, and that's actually who is Vulcan, the volcano god, the god of blacksmithing, the god of the forge of invention. He's an architect, and yeah, there's so much in here. You want to add something?
Yeah, it's just funny because Seth Rollins' nickname, I told you, his nickname is the Architect.
Oh man.
And the Visionary.
Wow.
And his other one is the Revolutionary, so that somehow probably ties in as well. But everything you're saying and connecting right now with Seth Rollins and the Tower, and him being in Paris with the Tower, and I'm gonna have to look into this card and Seth Rollins in general again. So
if I can just throw in really quick 2 other observations right behind the tower. Right, you have what looks like a monkey snake. There's like some sort of snake figure, and then on the left you have like an eagle figure.
That's Yaldabaoth there.
Yeah, that's Yaldabaoth. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly who that is. That's the demiurge.
And
I just bring it up with like Year of the Snake, the Eagles, that kind of thing. But I'm clearly the 5-year-old playing in the sandbox right now. You guys are killing it right now.
Yaldabaoth is interesting because I've noticed that the word Yaldabaoth, or however you say it, it equals King James in multiple ciphers.
Oh wow!
So I've always made that connection. I think King James equals 89 and 35, and Yaldabaoth equals 89 30 in the base 2 English ciphers. But yeah, that's and that I've connected that Yaldabaoth to this year because we're in the year of the snake, and the Yaldabaoth has the lion's head, and we just got the lion, Leo, the lion pope this year in the snake year. So it's the lion and the snake.
Right. So historians or just students of the mysteries, there's no agreement. Most of the time, there's no agreement as to what is the equivalent of an original archetype in ensuing cultures. So, for example, if you have Kotharu of Sumer, there's a general agreement that that's the original archetype, and they haven't, unless they're keeping it secret in the Vatican or something, there's no official source of Sumerian gods. That's where they start. They aren't based on anything previous, so they say, that we know of. So that those have to be the original archetypes, and they don't agree. Not everybody agrees on who is the equivalent from ensuing cultures, but there is some speculation. So Yaldabaoth that's a Gnostic, you could say, creation, or a Gnostic version of a certain entity. And some people will connect the Gnostic Yaldabaoth to Kotharu. And Kotharu, surprisingly, is not that well known. You think of Enlil, Enki, and Anu, and some others. You don't really hear about Kotharu. Kotharu was actually answered to Enlil, and Enlil is Yahweh, who is Zeus, who's Jupiter. So he answered to him. He's not a god in his own right, and so, which makes sense. So who's the god of Mount Olympus? Where is Mount Olympus? It's the volcano on Mars. That's Mount Olympus. And who's the god of Mount Olympus? It's Zeus. Well, Zeus is Enlil, and Kotharu answers to Enlil, and he's the architect. Enlil is the chief god, but he does not have architect skills. So he needs an architect to give orders to.
and he's a god of electricity, I guess. So he gives him his power source with electricity. So I don't know. One wonders, can Kotharu, can he go rogue? Can he pull rank? Because he has skills that Enlil doesn't. Now, I actually did a video. I hate the way Patreon makes it impossible to scroll through videos. It just makes it impossible. So there's so many good videos people miss. I did a video called "The Two Architects," and it was these archetypes. The other architect is Enki, who does have architect skills. Enki, who is that's the original archetype for Poseidon, for the Egyptian Ptah, and for the Roman Neptune. That's Enki. Enki was an architect. On the opposing side, his opponent was Enlil, his half-brother. They were bitter rivals. Enlil won the War of the Gods, but Enlil had his architect, Kotharu, under him. Well, many people believe that Yaldabaoth is actually is Kotharu. Not everybody agrees on that. Some people do think that. But when I see this, I'm just kind of... I honestly didn't ever really notice this. I've seen this card many times. My main thing is the eye with Mars. I'm just kind of noticing this now, how much sense it makes. Well, according to the vision that Crowley had, this does tie in to Yaldabaoth, the Demiurge. And the Demiurge is said to be the architect of the world we're living now, which is a negative place because it was created by a negative force. And if you look around, there appears to, I could see how people could believe that. Why would a benevolent God make carnivorous animals? The only way to survive is to eat other animals live. I mean, what's the point of that? Like, this is a rough place. Some people believe that this is the architect, Yaldabaoth, who is Kotharu, who's not a positive person.
As you're speaking about this, Rambo, I just keep thinking about wrestling because I know how these stories wind through. And you could say that Seth Rollins has pulled a fast one on what used to be his brother, Roman Reigns. Because when they first came up, Roman Reigns, who I think in this case, if you're going to align it with what you just talked about, it would be Enlil, Roman Reigns.
Yep.
And Seth Rollins used to be his brother before he betrayed him back in the day. And since then, it's been kind of a back and forth between Seth Rollins, bitter enemies now. But Seth Rollins has pulled a ruse. The most recent thing that happened was Seth Rollins cashed in his Money in the Bank, and they called it the ruse of the century. Wow. So like a ruse to go against Roman Reigns and to destroy his reign. And so as you were speaking about that narrative with the Sumerian or with the Babylonian gods, it reminds me of like literally the storyline that's been playing out for many years between these two guys.
And on top of that, Cody, if I can just throw in my 2 cents, I just think about the red and yellow symbolism that you both have been talking about for a while with Hulk Hogan, and you just mentioned Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, brothers, brotherly love. So you got the Hulk Hogan colors all over the place. You got the snake, or it could be a python. Some people could look at like Hogan, known for his pythons. We're in the year of the snake, and then of course the eagle on the left. So city of brotherly love. Yeah, and the twin towers come crumbling down, right? Everything with Hulk Hogan. So
So red and yellow usually is fire. It could be the sun, but if anything fiery, that's when you'll see those that color combination.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, those are I'm almost done here. But so what can we go tie us back into Donnie Darko? Absolutely. Who is the director of Donnie Darko? It is Richard Kelly. Kelly grew up in Midlothian, Virginia, where he attended Midlothian High School and graduated in 1993. He was a child. When he was a child, his father worked for NASA on the Mars Viking lander. Now, you remember that Halloween scene where one of Darko's friends is dressed up as Hulk Hogan? The other one is dressed as a Viking. The reason they did that is a shout out to the father of the director of Donnie Darko, who worked on the NASA Mars Viking lander. That's why they had that guy dressed as a Viking. but still, there's your Mars connection to Donnie Darko.
Holy smokes. And if I could add one other thing about the Viking symbolism, shout out to Myron. He got game. The Vikings came back and won last night, right? On Queen Elizabeth's death anniversary. But Cody, think about this with what you were talking about with King James. King James VI. Kings.
Wow. Yep.
See what I'm saying? LeBron, King James, same colors as the Lakers, the teams he's playing on, but VI.
Wait, VI like King James the Sixth.
That's what I'm saying. VI and Kings, Vikings.
Yeah,
right. It's right there. You just take the VI and put it the other side.
I've always thought of the Vikings as like a king reference, but I just now what you just said put it together with King James being King James the Sixth.
Exactly. Yep. That's why Rome scored a touchdown last night, and the new king and queen. This is why I liked Rome Odunzi, or however you pronounce his name, to score a touchdown last night, which he did, because it was the 98th day of his age. Yesterday was the date written 9/8, and King Charles and Queen Camilla visited the Roman Colosseum back on April 8th of this year, which is the 98th day of the year. So that was the code for Rome Odunzi. And sure enough, he got in the end zone. But yeah, Vikings, that was the other part of it. The Vikings went on, the death anniversary of the Queen, who visited Chicago, who visited Chicago one time off of a boat, off of Lake Michigan. Then there was a parade down Michigan Avenue. And sure enough, you have J.J. McCarthy. He scores a touchdown, who's from Chicago, and he went to Michigan. So that was my quick little hash on that.
Yeah, well, yeah, this pretty much wraps it up for me. But the important thing here was to emphasize the significance. I had no idea it would. Again, this is how decodes go when you have, different people kind of working together on a decode. How it'll just mushroom. It's really amazing. But this movie theater symbolism is very profound. The movie theater is actually a metaphor for the world we live in, and who created this stage. Was it this demiurge, Kothar? That's from a Gnostic tradition. Many people, again, we can all decide what resonates with us, what makes sense to us. I'm not saying this is the way it is. It's just up to people to consider. But this is a very powerful symbol, the movie theater and the stage. So yeah, that's it. That's all I got for that.
That's great work, Rambo. Yeah, going to a movie theater or watching a movie or anything is kind of like a portal, isn't it? You're kind of entering a portal into a new storyline, a new, whatever.
Well, it just reminds me of earlier this year when Trump had a huge connection with the theater earlier this year. I think it was he went to see Les Mis at the what's that name of that theater? What's the name of that theater for the government in Washington, D.C.?
The Ford's Theater?
Yeah. That's what it was. So he went to the opening of Ford's Theater, Les Mis, and it was on June 11th. That's what it was.
Wow.
And in gematria, assassination equals 611. And so it's like a huge code. I don't even remember the whole code I did on that, but I just know the most important part was he went to that theater on that day, 6/11, when assassination equals 6/11, and that of course was Ford's Theater. Lincoln was shot in Ford's Theater, or no, wait, what was it? Lincoln was shot in Ford's Theater, and Kennedy was shot in a Ford Lincoln. Yeah, that's what it was. So
Maggie's saying it was at the Kennedy Center.
Oh, the Kennedy. Okay. That's right. It was the Kennedy Center. Okay. I knew it was either Kennedy or Ford. That was one of the names. But yeah, so there was your Kennedy connection. He was at the Kennedy Center on 6/11. And yeah, as I mentioned, with the Kennedy and Lincoln stuff. So
in my decodes, a date that seems to be of interest connected to Trump has actually been the anniversary of the birth of JFK. JFK's birthday in 2026. I've just seen a lot of synchronicity with that. There's so much JFK synchronicity with Donald Trump. And I've looked at which is the birthday of John F. Kennedy, which is May 29th of 2026. That's come up to me as a date of interest. And this is just another connection to Kennedy and Trump, which I didn't even know about. Yeah, thanks. So
that was your birthday. I forgot, Rambo. That was on your birthday.
Oh, when he saw that? Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't forget, too, going back to the Joker, there was a lot of headlines during the first term that Trump had about the first Joker movie that came out. They were talking a lot about how, you know, he went to a whole screening of the Joker movie and whatnot. But just want to tie that in
you
there
know
since
what,
we're talking
too?
about movie theaters.
To tie this in with the Mars thing real quick, Rambo. That was just 2 days before he turned 42 Martian years old. And that, of course, on his 42nd Martian birthday, Israel attacked Iran, which equals 42. So there's your Mars connection also.
See, so you and Bobby Simpson have pointed out how these Mars specifically, it's the Mars anniversaries that seem more significant than the other planets. To me, this ties into my theory here, or at least what I'm observing here. Why is Mars so important? And I think this David Bowie and the Crowley imagery, it's clearly what, to me, it's clear what Bowie's really saying. The official lyrics trying to say it's something else. Now, I think it's pretty clear. Do they know they're on the best-selling show? That's the kicker there. That's the key line. Do humans know that they're on the best-selling show? And then, so what does Mars have to do with it? Well, that's where you're being viewed from. And I think that is why these Mars anniversaries that you and Bobby Simpson have identified, I think that is why Mars is more significant than any of the other planets as far as key events happening on those planets' returns.
Yeah. Mars has been so important. Like for instance, as I mentioned last week, Buzz Aldrin was on his Martian birthday when he landed on the moon, and then he became a Mars advocate. And then here's another one I just found recently. King Charles was born exactly 12 Martian years after his mother. So there's something really big there, I guarantee it. Like his mom, Queen Elizabeth, she was born exactly. So they share a Martian birthday. That's essentially how you could say it. They both born on a Martian count. So you can think more about that if I don't know what that would mean necessarily, but 12 Martian years apart, I'm not sure. And there's more. I just can't think of them right now. But yeah, those Martian years have been so like interesting as I've looked through.
Well, I do have there's a book by an academic. This is somebody from academia with a PhD, a doctorate. So you wouldn't expect this from them. The book is titled "Humans Are Not from Earth." His last name is Silver. Ellis Silver is his name. It's "Humans Are Not from Earth." A PhD, an academic. And usually it's a big risk when an academic does stuff like this, but it's very referenced and he explains. So he's not saying what I think is the case. I do think this is the case, is that there is intelligent life on Mars now, even human life, maybe others, AI and all that. And I believe that it's connected to the gods of mythology. There is intelligent life there. And teleportation, Nikola Tesla said he could do it. Teleportation, I believe, has already been mastered, but it's only available to a select few. It's in They Live as well. They were teleporting back and forth. I believe it does exist. And I think there is intelligent life on Mars. So that's not what Ellis Silver is saying in his book, Humans Are Not from Earth. He's not saying that there's intelligent life there now. What he's saying is that he believes that humans originated on Mars and then somehow were transported to Earth. So Earth is really not the native planet for humans. That's his theory. He's a PhD, but he even talks about ancient mythology, but he goes through scientific data and multiple reasons why, how he came to that conclusion that humans are not from Earth. Like, now he doesn't say that there's still intelligent life there, which I think there is. But he does positive, and this is from a PhD, from an academic. Why? Okay, if this subject matter interests you, consider reading his book, Humans Are Not From Earth by Ellis Silver, PhD.
If I can add one thing in here, kind of outside of topic, but I wanted to shout out John Manana, June 11th, Rambo, big soccer fan. I don't know if you knew this, but the World Cup apparently starts on June 11th next year in 2026. So
yes, that's John Minota. I'm very familiar with him. He's a good friend.
Is that John who I've been texting with, or is this a different?
No, that's a different John.
Oh, okay, all right.
No, he's a good friend. He's a good friend. Okay, thanks for shouting out. Yes, the last time the World Cup, I hate to make things all kind of go negative and sour, but the last time the World Cup was held on June 11th, it was held in South Africa in 2010, which was just ridiculous. I mean, that's not what South Africa needed, to spend all those billions invested in some silly tournament. They could have done so much more with all that money. That shows you too, like a lot of the investment in the World Cup came from, countries with the bigger economies. They'll pull their money together for a 1 month tournament. They could have. That means they're actually showing you they can snap their fingers and pull money if they want to at any moment. They just choose not to. So for this, they do. So I really don't have a good feeling when I think of the World Cup and June 11th. I don't really associate it with positive. I just think of the whole farcical idea of making South Africa host a World Cup. It was billions upon billions that the higher economy countries poured into South Africa just for that, and it had rituals left and right. In fact, the day of the kickoff, Spain ended up winning that. Talking about the red and yellow, so that could tie in. Spain actually won that. That was Spain's first World Cup win, and now they've gone on. Now they're the favorites. So, yeah, there's a lot that ties into that. But that's what I think of when I see a World Cup starting on June 11th. I think of the last time that happened, which is real interesting. But yeah, thanks. Shout out to John. Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just gonna be mindful here. I mean, I know we do our best to keep it within an hour and a half, but now we're flirting with that 2-hour mark. So I think we've covered a lot of ground. Is there anything else? I don't know. Anything else that we want to kind of end things on before we wrap things up, you guys?
Not that I could think of. I mean, we touched on a lot, and I think I've hit on most of my points.
No, that was amazing. The connections that KODI made is pretty mind-boggling. I mean, how everything's connected. What more can you add? If you add any more, then it's just too much information. At this point, no one's even going to remember all these facts. How do you remember all these? But that was a great show. Thanks again for all the contributions, also from the audience as well.
Yeah, thanks, Rambo. I appreciate it, and thanks for as always showing us the deep mystical and the mythological symbolism like you always do. And like the tower thing with what you brought up at the end really got me thinking now about all this other stuff with Seth Rollins and the Eiffel Tower. And so, yeah, a great show and a lot of stuff to chew on for a little bit. And yeah, so thanks for AJ for putting it together as usual, and everyone in the chat for being amazing. The chat's also always amazing. So
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, let me just shout out a couple of people in the chat. Gene Spliced, would need to see a lot more convincing evidence of time travel than we currently have before ever believing humans were not from Earth. I mean, I don't disagree with that, but at the end of the day, there's only so much information they share with us out there. Patchy Ghost says, all this Philly talk, the Philadelphia experiment. I'm not familiar, but time travel, Tesla tech.
The Philadelphia experiment actually ties into all this. It ties into Mars, ties into Sirius, ties into. I made this connection before because the Philadelphia experiment ties in with the Montauk Project as well. There's theories about the Syrians being from Mars, living on Mars, the people from Sirius star system, supposedly they live on Mars. This is theories, but there's theories about this. And then the Montauk Project, which ties to Sirius as well, also being connected. I've tied this to the WWE before with with all kinds of stuff. But yeah, that's a good point, the Philadelphia experiment. And then I think that's why the coach of the Philadelphia Eagles is Sirianni, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Wow. I never thought about that one.
So I want to answer Gene Spliced, who said they want to see more convincing evidence.
Yeah.
That's why I would need a lot more convincing evidence of space travel than we currently have before ever believing humans were not from Earth. So when I say would need a lot more convincing evidence, that's why I mentioned the book. It's by a PhD, it's by an academic, and it's at an academic standard. And so the book was Humans Are Not From Earth. It's by Adam Silver, and he lays out his argument much more eloquently and in depth than I could even summarize. I haven't even read the whole book, but I said it's a theory. So it also goes back to what I said. We put this information out there. People will decide at the end of the day what resonates with them as the truth or a possibility even.
Did you
All I'm doing
say
is
his name was? Did you say his name was Adam Silver?
I'm sorry. Ellis Silver. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, isn't that the NBA commissioner?
Yeah, my mistake. Because that's what I was thinking of. It's Ellis Silver.
The only reason I laughed is because I always thought the Adam Silver guy looked like an alien.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but in general, that's where the argument is made. Very in-depth argument. So as far as convincing evidence, well, read the book. It's thick, full of he lays out his argument there. So I would recommend the book, and then you decide on your own, or you can decide just not to look at it at all. That's fine at the end of the day. But that's where, if this doesn't sound, if I want to do an honest assessment of what may or may not be the truth, the argument is there in the book. Humans Are Not From Earth by Ellis Silver.
And the enthused dreams always coming in with the fire, talking about how we supposedly came to Earth through the Silver Gate. We've talked a lot about the Golden Gate tonight and in a lot of other streams, entering and leaving the material plane. So, I mean, silver, yeah. At this point, when I hear silver, I immediately think of gold and silver and the gold and silver gates.
No, that's a really good point. And I don't think it might be synchronistic or not a coincidence. Yeah, the Silver Gate is the portal from the spiritual plane into the material plane. Then the portal from the material plane to the spirit plane is the Golden Gate. So yeah, that's a good point there.
Definitely. All right, you guys. Well, thank you guys again. Honestly, the show wouldn't be anything without you guys. So I really appreciate you guys dedicating this time every week to jump on and have a fun collab. And, you guys thank me for putting it together, but it's not possible without you guys. So always means a lot. That brotherly love, is always coming my way. And same to the chat. I mean, oh my God, every time I share anything, whether it's just me by myself and the usual suspects are in, they're adding so many amazing things, and same obviously with these bigger collabs we have every week. So shout out to everybody that was watching and listening tonight, everybody else in the chat that contributed. That's why we do this. So thank you, KODI. Thank you, Rambo. We will see you guys next week. And until next time, peace, ballers.
If you didn't know, forever exploring the interdimensional primordial historian moratorium, just hanging around, telling stories in the Hyperborean DeLorean.